Dear students, today I shall be dealing with a new topic, that is marriage by your first President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So, it is a very interesting one, possibly of your age. You are just prosecuting your first year classes in +2 level. So, here Dr. Rajendra Prasad will be telling you something about his teenager days. So, marriage is of a kind of concern, a kind of institution, or a kind of practice which is usually solemnized between adults. But those are the days when Rajendra Prasad is telling something very interesting about his marriage, which took place at his teen age, or when he was about 13 years only. And now the marriageable age is 18. Adolescents, when they cross 18, they are eligible to apply legally. But now you can see that he will be talking to you about his marriage, which took place when he was just only 13 years and he was reading in standard 5. So, very interesting one. You might be knowing Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So, from your general knowledge, might have been acquainted with the first President of Republic of India. India got independence in 1947, become a republic in 1950. So, this man, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was from Bihar, the new territory, so he was chosen as the first President of India in 1950, when India became a republic. And he was elected thrice and remained as President of India up to 1962. Why is 1962 famous? So, in 1962 there was the kind of battle between China and India. Now, you are very much concerned, and you know how India is now having a kind of face-off with China. So, in 1962, when China war was there, Rajendra Prasad was your president. So, he remained, he was chosen in 1950, then there was the first election in 1952, then 5 years 1957, so 62. So, from 1950 to 1962, he was the President of India, the first citizen, what we call, of this republic, that is our country, India. So, here Rajendra Prasad, the President, he is talking about himself. So, there are two types of literature. One is autobiography and another is biography. Graphy means writing. So, when you are writing about yourself, that becomes an autobiography. When you are writing about someone else, that becomes a biography. So, what you are going to get here in this particular passage, or in this particular excerpt, or this excerpt, or you can say extract, is from his biography. In Hindi it was Atma Katha, right? So, Atma Katha, originally it was in Hindi. So, there Rajendra Prasad was telling something about his marriage, which took place long ago, you can say, when he was just a child of only 13 years and was reading in class 5. So, let us find out. So, the entire prose is of Dr. Rajendra Prasad. It is written in a very plain and simple language, filled with certain anecdotes or some kind of incidents or some kind of events. So, anecdotes, or you can say events, or you can say happenings, and he has sensibly used these small events in order to make this piece of prose very interesting. So you are somehow are acquainted with this kind of marriage, all right, a kind of social practice, a kind of ritual, a kind of religious kind of a thing, where an adult man marries an adult woman. So now he will be talking to you when he was a child marrying another child. That was the practice, that was the ritual then. And remember, that took place in those days when India was not free. All right, India was not free. India attained its independence in 1947. This man was born in 1884. So when he was 13 years, you can say, you add this 13, that comes around 13. So 1800 and 1887. So long before India attained its independence, this particular event took place, and Rajendra Prasad in 1946, all right, in 1946 wrote about his you can say thing which happened to him. So let us go to the text. So the best way to understand a particular piece of prose is to read it to yourself, all right. Sometimes to read it to yourself, at times you will be at times you read it in a very you can say in a kind of loud voice, so that it would have a kind of impact. So the best way to understand English is to practice these things. The reading habit is one of them, all right. LSRW, all right, listening, speaking, reading and writing. L, S, then R and W. Writing, then reading, speaking and listening. So here I want to convince you, I want to emphasize on this reading habit. When a prose passage is given, try to read it convincingly, so that most of the things would be understood by you, all right. And you just see that by that you will be able to just pronounce certain words rightly, and when you listen to certain speeches, certain radio talks or certain televised programs, you will also learn how to pronounce things. And if you are a good at words or a particular English, you can also look up the meaning of a word in the dictionary and find out how there is a key which is given how to pronounce, all right. So that part will come later on. So for you this will do, listen and then read it well and try to speak it well, so that you will learn the nuances of English, and your perfection will be there when you will start writing more and more. So my point is this: let us read the text and watch how I am going through these lines. This is the text. Remember, this is not an independent text. This is just one slice, one piece from his Atmakatha or his autobiography. So Rajendra Prasad has talked about his marriage, which took place when he was only 13 years and was reading in class 5, a child's marriage, and that has been discussed in Atmakatha, and this is part of it. Let us just see. I was perhaps in the 5th standard and was 13 when my marriage was arranged. I had gone to Jaradei for the summer holidays. The bride's father, a muktiyar in Arab, and his younger brother, a lawyer in Balia, who had come to our village, visited our house to see me. My father sent for me. The visitors smote me some questions, and after a while I retired. They were satisfied and signified their approval of the match. After a few days, the tilak or the betrothal was received, and according to custom, clothes, utensils and a cash price of Rs 2000, rupees 2000. My father was not keen on the cash present, but since the bride's party insisted on it, he accepted it. So you see the kind of thing, how the story began. It's not a story, it is just a kind of narration of the entire thing. But watch how beautifully he has started. Alright? So he is just remembering those things which took place when he was a child, and he is writing it in a very lucid prose, very plain and simple, L-U-C-I-D, lucid prose. Alright? So he is saying that when I was reading in 5th standard and about 13, and when I came to my village for the summer vacation, one day one thing happened. So what was that? So the would-be wife's brother and father, they came to my place. Let us just put these things on board so that it would be easier. Who is the groom? This is Rajendra Prasad. Who is the bride? The lady who is going to be the wife of Rajendra Prasad. So the actual name is Rajavanshi Devi. That is not given in your text. I have collected it. Rajavanshi Devi. So her father and her brother, both of them came, had a visit to the groom's house. So Rajendra Prasad was then there at his own place, which you know, that is Jera Dei. Let me just write down these things. Jera Dei in Bihar. Alright. So the brides were from Ara, another place in Bihar. So the father was a Muktiyar. So you are acquainted with this term. The people, those who are there, and you can say in courts, alright, he is a Muktiyar, and his brother was an advocate, or you can say lawyer. So both of them, as the guardians of the bride, they came, visited, contacted Rajendra Prasad's father, and they were satisfied. Alright. So it was the first, you can say, encounter of the bride's guardian with the groom's guardian. Alright. And that particular day was followed by certain rituals. So usually what happened, that you might have seen in your own village or in your own family, when his marriage is going to take place, initially there was a kind of arrangement, either from bride side or from groom side. Some people, they come, they see the bride or the groom, or vice versa. They find out to what extent they would be, it would be befitting a kind of a good match, and what are the properties and what are the kind of living condition. So if they consider all the things to be very satisfactory, then they go ahead. So the same thing happened here. So Rajendra Prasad's father invited the father and brother of the bride. So they were from Ara. They visited Jera Dei, and the initial thing were good. So that's why they consented, gave their decision that they should follow up the whole thing. That's why there was a ritual which was about to be carried out. So that is called tilak. So usually in our parlance, or in our place, we call it, it is almost a kind of betrothal ceremony. Betrothal ceremony, or usually you are acquainted with this term nirbandha. At times some people say it is satya. That means both the parties, the guardians of the bride, the guardians of the groom, they come, sit in the presence of a Brahmin. They go for a kind of puja or a kind of ritual, confirming this kind of arrangement, that the bride would be given in marriage to the groom. So it's a kind of, it is just like kind of a contract. Alright, a kind of a contract, a kind of ritual, and that happened in the presence of some, you can say, elderly people, in the presence of a Brahmin. So this ritual is called, in their place tilak. In our place, it is more familiar as nirbandha or satya. All right. So this is how in this piece Rajendra Prasad is talking about his marriage. A very, you can say, simple and plain language. So no word is difficult. The rituals are going to be explained one after another. So now you find that both the parties, they consented to this kind of arrangement. So this betrothal ceremony has taken place, and remember, you are acquainted with this term, you can say a kind of presentation, a kind of gift, which we call in our place as dowry. So dowry is a kind of necessary evil. People say that let us get rid of dowry, but they, you can say, the bride's party, they usually give dowry to the groom. So in those days it was settled at 2,000 rupees only. Like 2,000 rupees in 1880, you can say 97, possibly is a great sum. So Rajendra Prasad admitted, or he wrote, that since from bride side it was an offer, it was a kind of gift, a cash gift, all right, in terms of a cash. So since the bride's people, or the father and the brother, they insisted that they would be giving 2,000 rupees, so that was given to Rajendra Prasad's father, and he accepted it. So he made it very clear that since the bride's party insisted on it, he accepted it. So now let us systematize things. First there was the visit, then the kind of arrangement that the cash gift of 2,000 rupees was given, so that was accepted by Rajendra Prasad's father, and then the, you can say, the ritual, the betrothal ceremony, or what we in our place call nirbandha or satya, that has been taken. And then in that particular you can say ritual, a marriage day was fixed. And very interestingly, Rajendra Prasad is going to describe how he was quite unaware of the kind of thing. He knew that it was just a kind of marriage. So marriage as such was didn't have any kind of significance to him. He thought that it is just a kind of plaything. So very innocently he is describing the entire thing. Right? Very innocently. Let us say that now we say the dowry ritual, then marriage procession, bride's you can say bride's party, then groom's party, barazatri, those kind of thing we are very much familiar. All right, in our own locality we might have seen, if our elder brother or sister, they have got married, we might have been acquainted with certain rituals. So now he says that those are the days when he was just a boy of 13. He knew that it is just a kind of a thing, but he didn't know what was its repercussion, what was its effect, and what is it to get married, all right, or what is to be husband and wife. He didn't know all these things. He simply admits that he knew that it was a kind of marriage because his elder brother married and his sister-in-law, what we in our language call a bhauja, she came to their house. So it was just another woman entering into the threshold of their house. But what are the rituals, what are the practices, what are the, you can say, follow-up things, he didn't know. So he is very innocently describing, he is very innocently or innocuously, or you can say naive, a very important term, naive. He is very naive, very simple. So he is just describing these things. So he says 2,000 rupees, that was considered to be a fairly good sum in those days. the greater the present or the occasion of the betrothal, the greater must be the pomp and show. The ceremonial aspect is now is coming to the main part, that is marriage. So the arrangement was there, then consent was given, then betrothal took place, and now he says that when there was the gift of rupees 2000 rupees was given, or it was just a kind of a gift from bride side. So considering that particular time, in 19th century, 1897, it was a big sum, 200 rupees. So if that was the sum, that was the dowry, he is not telling it as a dowry, but he says it is a kind of present, a kind of a gift. So then he says that considering those things, everyone in the locality, they thought that it would be a kind of a huge affair, a big affair, all right, a big celebration with all its pomp and dignity, all right, pomp and dignity. It's a big celebration, all right, just like a fair, a kind of mela. Let us say, the deaths in the family had brought us considerable financial strain. The jamidari was not quite profitable owing to family conditions, and our expenses had gone up. So this is all about his family condition in those times. So Rajendra Prasad, in very candid terms, candid means clear, admitted to the fact that in those times when he was about to marry, 2000 rupees was a big sum, and in those times his father's economic condition was not that good, even though they were jamidars, right? So he says, because of the kind of protracted, a long kind of a litigation, legal battle, and then famine, and then some you can say loss of family, you can say members. So all these things were there. So his father was not in a very comfortable kind of a thing, considering the financial side, the economic side. So when it was an offer of 2000 rupees and it was insisted by the bride side, he accepted it. So he spent generously on ornaments, other expenditures were equally lavish. So lavish. So he says, when it was 2000 rupees and it is going to be a kind of a celebration, and Rajendra Prasad, his father was a jamidar, so that's why it was expected that it would be kind of big affair, a kind of huge kind of a celebration in the locality. So accordingly, when his father got that 2000 rupees, in those times he wanted to buy many things to the satisfaction of the bride side, all right, to the satisfaction of the bride's side. So then he says, just when we are going through this text, just imagine as if you are able to remember an incident of marriage, or a kind of a family function, or a kind of marriage function of your near and dear. What are the stages, how the things took place, how there was a kind of arrangement, a kind of consent, a kind of nirbandha, and then how it was followed by a kind of auspicious date for fixing an auspicious date, right, for the kind of celebration, the marriage celebration. And before the marriage celebration, lots of things were to be arranged, all right. So since Rajendra Prasad father was a jamidar, and he thought of buying many ornaments for the would-be bride, all right, and accordingly he thought of spending a lot on on this kind of marriage, on this kind of ritual, or this kind of celebration. So he says it was a lavish expenditure, there is a huge expenditure on those things. So now we will be talking about these things. So now you find that usually when a marriage is going to take place, we think of procession, all right. So marriage usually take place in bride's house, all right. So here it is Ara. So Rajendra Prasad's family members, his parents and the elderly people will go, and Prasad's friends, they would go to Ara, the bride's place where the marriage is going to take place. So he is saying that it is actually a place almost somewhat distant. It is 40 miles, right? So the 40 miles, and in between there is one river, that is Saraju. So when they were planning to go to that place, they arranged everything, and taking into his status, Rajendra Prasad's father thought of arranging a big, you can say, procession, for the big procession to reach the bride's house at Ara. So now you can see, so that is the place. The marriage was to be held in Dalan Chopra in Balia district. Alright. So they hailed from Ara, but the marriage is to take place in Dalan Chopra in Balia district, in the same, you can say, Bihar. So they had to cross this river Sarju in order to reach that. Now he will be describing how these things took place. So in those times, so now you can see that when all the Barajatris, they go from one place to another, there is a procession. Light and sound system is there. Then you have all kinds of crackers, and you have all kind of electronic gadgets, and it's a kind of a ceremonial affair. So keeping in view the time in which these things took place, in those times these vehicles were not there put into service, but rather elephants, horses, boat and bullock carts, so they were put into service. Now he is saying the marriage was to be held in Dalan Chopra, 40 miles from Jaradai. This means 2 days journey. So they started, and 2 days ahead. So in the entire page, he, in a very convincing manner, in a very interesting manner, he is going to discuss, he is going to describe that instead of, you can say, vehicles, in those times palkis were used. So in Odia we called palinki, or in English we say palanquin. So it's just a kind of thing which is to be carried, and the soldiers, 4 people will carry the groom from groom's house to the bride's house. All right, it's a kind of it's a decorative kind of thing. So it's just like what we say biman, just like we usually know during the Lojatra that bimans were carried out. So it is just like a kind of a thing which is, let us just imagine this way. So, all right, 2 people this side, all right, and the whole thing will be covered with a canopy, CANOPE. It is decorated, and people on their foot, they will carry this palki or palanquin, or in Odia we say palinki, from the groom's house to the bride's house. So here he is describing this funny, he calls it a kind of funny kind of thing. So it is just not like the kind of usual vehicles which are now put into service, decorated with the flowers. In those times, there are the palkis or the palinki, or what we in English we call palanquin. So they were there, and that was made of silver, and there is a cover in order to protect the, you can say, the groom. All right, groom means bora, and you can say bride is kanya. All right, the Odia equivalent will be bride is kanya and groom is bora. All right, so the bora has to go to the kanya's house, or the groom has to go to the bride's house. And in those times, those palanquin bearers, all right, those people, the 4 in number, they carry the groom to the Kanya's house or the bride's house. So he says, it's made of silver. What with the sun and the hot winds, riding in palki was no fun. So physically they had to lift the groom, and there is the wind, there is the scorching sun, and it was the month of June. So it's not a kind of comfortable affair in those times. He says that it is easy to say that the borough or the groom will be carried to the Kanya's house or the bride's house, but it was not it's a very difficult kind of a thing. In the evening we encountered in the village on the bank of Saraju. We rested for the night. So I have already said that Rajendra Prasad's father had all the arrangements of some horses and some, you can say, elephants. And elephants in those times were put into service for marriage. But what happened? Certain things just took place, and there was some kind of a difficulty in getting these elephants to the other side. The elephant didn't, they just didn't go, and it was not possible on the part of the Mahots, all right. So to just see that the elephants reach the other line. All right, so that's why that was the kind of dislocation, and he accepts. So the Mahout, M-A-H-O-U-T, Mahunta, all right. So in English it is Mahout, but in Oriya we say Mahunta, all right. The elephant is controlled by this Mahunta, all right, or the Mahout. So it was very difficult, and there was some kind of dislocation. The elephants, they just didn't go to swim the kind of river and reach the other bank. That's why they are to be left there. So only the boat and the other people and all the kinds of things which were there, the articles, so they were carried to the other side through certain boats. So that was an initial dislocation, and he says that my father was somehow annoyed. At the same time he was very dissatisfied, because it was a show of, you can say, his grandeur, the kind of a celebration, the kind of authority, that he was the Jamidar of his place. So without the kind of presence of horses and the elephants, it was not a big affair. That's why he was somewhat unhappy. So after an hour of hide and seek like this, efforts are made to tie it to the boats and tow it, to guide those elephants so that they would cross the river, but they failed. All right. So the Mahouts failed in their attempt, and all the elephants which were put into service, then they were to be left behind. So then they set up at a brisk pace, in a speedy manner. Pace means speed, pace, pace. You know, the pace bowler, fast bowlers. So it's a kind of speed. So since much time was wasted here, that's why they thought of speeding, and they reached the place of the bride in towards 11 o'clock in the night. So all the people were eagerly waiting. Why? The groom is yet to arrive. All right, it was late. That's why they are worried. And to break the silence, you can see that the groom, that is Rajendra Prasad himself, along with his parents and all the, you can say, Barojatris, what you say, they reached along with, and to their fortune what happened, he is interestingly put it in this way, that when he was about to cross the river Sarju, and on the other side, when they were thinking very seriously that it would be not up to their prestige, about the status, that they would be going for a marriage without the elephants and the horses, at that time some elephants they were coming, because those elephants were engaged in another marriage. After the marriage took place, they were returning. So his parents, particularly his father, talked to those party and they agreed. So that's why he says there was initial dislocation, but on the later stage, or you can say eventually, things took place to their satisfaction. So all that began well, that would end well. That is why he says that there are horses, there are elephants, there are bullock carts, and all the, you can say, good things which they have purchased. So all these things now reach the place of the bride, and the marriage is about to take place. Now you see, a boy of only 13. So he just was watching, and it's just like an automaton going from this place to whatever he was directed. He was just doing those things, and because of this tired, because we had 2 days journey. All right, they started 2 days earlier. They reached the place, the bride's place, in the night. So that's why he was tired. By the time the marriage is about to take place, Rajendra Prasad felt asleep. Almost practically he slept. So this particular interesting episode, or you can say anecdote, a very interesting thing happened. So he has also talked about these things. That's why I say that even if it is written in very simple language, see, the episodes of the happenings are well chosen, so that people will take it as a very interesting one. So now you see, he is telling that when the palki or the palanquin was borne by this, or were carried by those palanquin bearers, at that time, because of this kind of exertion, he felt asleep, and ultimately he felt sleepy and he slept. And then he is saying that, so the rituals, again let me sum. There was the visit first, then the kind of consent, then the betrothal, or you can say nirbandha, and now the Barajatris were going, or the groom's party were going to the bride's place, and then you see that the marriage is about to take place, and by the time the marriage is going to take place, you see that the groom is sleeping. All right. So because of the tiredness, or because of the exertion during this 2-day journey from their place to the, you can say, the other part, that is Dalan Chopra in Bihar. So it was a 40-mile affair. 40-mile affair. Journeying is a kind of, it's a kind of exertion. So the bridegroom's palki was a funny affair, made of silver. It was a very heavy burden, and he says this is not an easy affair. Again, carried the groom against the winds, and it was a long journey. So now you see that the marriage took place. By the time the marriage took place, so he was somewhat feeling sleepy, and was aroused, or you can say awakened. All right, aroused or awakened. All right. So, but he was feeling sleepy. So the Brahmin, in the presence of the Brahmin, the rituals were made, and some mantras, hymns, or the holy words were chanted. So the marriage took place. All right. So without knowing what is the consequence of the marriage, what is it all about, this groom, what to think of the kanya or even the bride? Both of them, they were just silent observers. They were just directed to do certain things. And at that time, he admitted to the fact that I didn't know what took place. I thought it was just a kind of a celebration. As they were celebrating, as they were having some kind of, you can say, play in their own house. So the ritual is over. So the funny part of it, the funny part of this Bihar marriage ritual is another thing. What is our practice? In our place, what happens? That the groom goes to the bride's house after the marriage takes place. Then you see that the bride would accompany the groom. All right. So let us, this is groom's house, that is bride's house. Bride's means kanya's house. So marriage is over. Then the kanya and the bara, or you can say the bride and the groom, both of them would come back to groom's house. So now your Rajendra Prasad, the author himself, will be telling you something funny, that in their place the practice was something different. So they had to wait for another year all right, 1 year gap, all right, that ritual, that practice is called, you can say, Duragamana, D-U-R, Dura, G, Mana, Duragamana or something that. That means when the marriage is over, then only the groom returned along with his parents and those Barajatris, and the bride is left behind. Alright, and this particular marriage would be complete only when this ritual is solemnized, alright, celebrated, or you can say solemnized. Alright, and this should take place 1 year after that marriage date. So he says, so Duragamana was performed a year later when my wife came into our house. So the groom has to wait for another year till the Duragamana is complete or solemnized. Then the Kanya, or you can say the bride, would come back or would come to the groom's house. So in a very interesting manner, very clear terms, in candid terms, Rajendra Prasad is telling you all the incidents which were there. So he couldn't help those things in those times. There were the practice, that was the ritual, and the social norms. So he used to just obey those things. And now we will be talking about another ritual or the kind of practice called Parda. Alright, so it's a very interesting thing. He is, in order to convince we readers, he is talking about Parda, just recounting how his elder brother's wife came to their house. What is the practice? So what happens? Just like during marriage, the groom is accompanied by some, you can say, party members. Likewise, when the, you can say, the Duragamana takes place, or the coming back of the, you can say, the bride to the house of the groom, so the Kanya or the bride is accompanied by 2 maid servants. Just like you have your servants at your own place, they were just the companions of the, since this is just like the kind of arrangement done by the bride's party. So they would to accompany the bride, and they would be sharing all their views, all kinds of things, feelings, everything. So only 3 people will be there. One is the bride and these 2 maid servants. So they were privately confined, alright, almost enclosed, confined. Nobody is allowed to enter to their domain, to their place. Alright, no family members, nothing. Even the groom is not allowed without the permission of the bride. Whatever the, you can say, the new bride would be wanting or wishing, she would be telling everything to the maid servants, and the maid servants to arrange everything. So that's why this kind of a practice, it is no more now here practiced, but he is telling you, in order to make us convincingly, you can say, familiar with this kind of thing, he is talking about how his sister-in-law or the wife of his elder brother came to their house, and that was the day, that was the time when a Parda system was prevalent. So let me just read out this particular portion so that you will know how beautifully he has explained, how beautifully he is talking about this kind of thing. Even if this is now considered a kind of evil practice, but in those times that kind of a touch of, you can say, sanctity, alright, it was maintained. Alright, the privacy was maintained, since it is the Kanya or the bride is a very not even a kind of matured one. So that's why, in order to acquaint her with the day-to-day practice about the marital kind of a thing, that's why these 2 maidens help her in just going through in the day-to-day life in a new place, in groom's place or in the groom's house. That's why this is the function. So you see, none was permitted to enter the courtyard except the cook and the tender-aged boy servants who, along with their mothers, had frequented the place. No other member of the groom's family would be allowed to enter to the place where the new bride or the kanya has come and has been housed or has been there. So only the kanya or the bride and the maid servants should be there. No other member will be there. And whatever happens, it is when permission is given, then who will be entering? Only the maid servants will be entering. No, gentleman would be there. And only when permission is given, only the other family members would be there. When my sister-in-law wanted to go to her bath, everyone is cleared out of the courtyard. So he is giving you citing that how these things took place when as a boy he has been watching that when his elder brother married, the sister-in-law came, or what we say in our Oriya language, bhaujo, for the first time she came. At that time that was the practice. House was confined, house was housed in her place, it was new to them, and all the things were literally done by these servants, maid servants, for the bride, the new bride. When my sister-in-law wanted to go to her bath, everyone was cleared out the courtyard. Not even a boy was allowed to hang around. Hang around means to move around, right? So, for added protection, two maid servants would carry bed sheets and as curtains on either side. So, might have seen when after the marriage, when the kanya would come to the bara's house or the groom's house, you see that how new clothes would be hung to cover the entrance of the bride. That means the bride would come with all privacy and nobody would be able to see before. So she would not be exposed. See the kind of thing. So days are gone, now everything is exposed. Marriage is something different, but here Rajendra Prasad is telling that all these practices were there. They were socially, he is not telling whether these are good things or bad things, but he says these were the prevailing practices or prevailing rituals. And never he has said that all these things are wrong. Never he has said that these are very, he was critical about these things. But those were there and he had seen those kind of things. That's why he says, not even a boy was allowed to hang around for added protection. Two maid servants would carry bed sheets and curtains on either side. So except her once or twice as a boy, I had never seen her face. So see this particular sentence. So he has also not been allowed to see his sister-in-law's face. Alright, that means elder brother's wife is his sister-in-law, or what we in our Oriya language we say bhauja. He says, I had also never seen my bhauja's face in those times. So it was so secret and they were enclosed or confined to their place to that extent. It was just a kind of arrangement, a kind of holy practice, a kind of ritual. So he says that all these things were there. So usually people may be saying that all these things are outdated, conservative or bad or all kind of things. But in throughout this description, nowhere Rajendra Prasad has said, and he is critical about this. He has almost made out very simple things to be very interesting ones. He will be talking about his own marriage, how things took place, what are the stages, how his new wife arrived after 1 year gap, and how she was about to receive. Alright, these are the practices which were there in pre-independent India, and it's a very funny kind of thing. It appears very interesting, as at the same time it is very funny. But Rajendra Prasad has never said these are bad or these are very evil practices. Alright. So when my wife came to Jardai, she had to act likewise, but after a long time the rules were relaxed. So in a very judgmental way, that with the freedom of India after 1947, there are lots of transformations, social changes. So these practices, even if they were there in rural places, there are some relaxations. All right. So it's a very interesting kind of thing, marriage. And you have gone through the entire episode, one after another, how the celebration took place, what are the different stages, the rituals which are there, how in those times dowry was also there. You can say child marriage was there. He was only 13 when he married, and he was reading only in standard 5. So all these things are very interestingly you can say described to you. I think you have enjoyed in a very way, and I would urge upon to compare the entire thing with the kind of a marriage which took place in your place. See the stages, see how your behavior, what is your social practice, and compare it with a kind of practice. It's not an ancient one, it was a practice which was there prevalent in almost 100 years back, right? It was 1887, 100 and odd years pre-independent India. But so you will just see, you can take it a very interesting one. I think you have all enjoyed when you have read the piece of Rajendra Prasad, what he has talked about in his Atma Katha. All right, it is a kind of autobiography. Thank you.